At the recent EVE Fanfest event for EVE Online, Netease was present for their own segment for EVE Echoes, during which Black Ops were announced for upcoming content. This has gotten a number of players that are experienced and have come to us from EVE Online, as well as those less experienced, quite excited, as this has been mentioned by other fellow content creators. But what is the deal with Black Ops? What impact will the introduction of this category of ships have on the game? And does it mean that the subscribe button itself will be turning black? So that is the topic of today's ramble. So put this on in the background as I run through what I know about Black Ops and speculate as to how they might be implemented in EVE Echoes. So first and foremost, what exactly are Black Ops ships in EVE Online as we know them? So these are battleships for each of the main factions and in addition Concord. These battleships have no locking delay when fitted with regular cloaks. They also suffer no reduced speed from regular cloaks, and depending on how this speed bonus is interpreted, they might even move faster whilst cloaked. Yeah, that sounds a bit of a weird one, doesn't it? But I've not played with one, so I honestly don't know if they move faster or slower. But as you can see up on screen with the example, it's entirely possible that they do move faster. I don't know. Somebody feel free to comment in the comment section below as to whether or not they do move faster or slower or just about the same. But again, at the very least, they don't move as slow as you'd expect them to with regular cloaks. They also have the ability of being able to bridge Covert Ops ships to other Black Ops sinos. I think I butchered one of the words back there. So the bridging is essentially an ability to act as a jump drive for nearby Covert Ops ships within your fleet. And this, of course, includes all Covert Ops capable ships. So maybe you want to bring a cloaky hauler along with you, or some stealth bombers. Anything goes, really. And more importantly, the Black Ops cynosural fields, I always struggle with that word. They don't appear on the overview unless, of course, you happen to already be on grid. So that allows them to be that much more discreet with moving around. The only place that you're going to see this fleet is either on grid with you or in local. And why are we talking about all these Black Ops ships? This is a new form of small ship PvP content. I know some people tend to get a little bit upset that Netease's interpretation of small ships does tend to be that of anything smaller than a capital ship. But what happens here is you don't necessarily need, for this to work, an entire fleet of Black Ops battleships. These Black Ops battleships, if done correctly and don't happen to be as strong as your typical T10 battleship, that is assuming they're done correctly, would act more as a utility, an ability to allow us to move entire fleets of Covert Ops capable smaller ships just around freely using cyno bridges and whatnot. Just think of it, you could see roaming fleets with Arbitrator Covert Ops, the Purifiers, Stratioses, is the Salios one of the new Covert Ops capable faction cruisers? The Chameleon? I'm going by memory here with these ship names, so feel free to tell me if I'm wrong here in the comments section. But the point here is we can see entire fleets of these just pop up out of nowhere thanks to Black Ops Cynos. And in Cobalt Edge, that's even more of a surprise because you don't even see them appear in local. And of course, as I just alluded to, this has implications for people's security within Low-sec, Null-sec and Cobalt Edge, because now whenever you see a single neutral in system, that might not just be a single neutral in system. That neutral could represent a 20 or 30 man Covert Ops fleet waiting near, maybe say, a dozen jumps away just to land on something juicy and cyno across. Previously, that sort of tactic has been a log-off trap, and log-off traps are kind of specific to one system or the systems nearby. because your response time, once you've got somebody tackled, has to be that very quick. Now a Black Ops ship, a Black Ops fleet can target any system, essentially, in, say, a couple of constellations, or maybe just one constellation. It all depends on what sort of jump range we see. But you can just hot drop any of these systems. You're not limited to a couple of systems whereby you've got a log-off trap going on. All you need is that one Sino ship to find something, and then the whole fleet comes by. And of course, that one Sino ship, if it's flying around with the 20 or 30 man fleet, it's going to get reported a lot more in intel channels. And the more it gets reported in intel channels, the more likely people are going to not take that chance and actually dock up their bling. You see one player just flying through your Alliance's space, just one player. He's been reported in a Magnate covert ops. If he lands on you, he'd be foolish. You kill him, job's a good one. This would make things somewhat different, wouldn't it? So let's just go more into the consequences of things. Let's start with Cobalt Edge, considering that's where things are the most interesting, I'd say, especially given its somewhat unique nature. So let's have a look at movement between constellations. This is a bit I like to really dig into here. At the moment, if you want to directly move between different constellations within Cobalt Edge, the only way to directly move is using a capital ship with a jump drive. And that is assuming that A, you own a capital ship, and B, I'm going to go with guts. I'm going to say you actually have the guts to take a capital ship into Cobalt Edge to start with. There will be people that have taken capital ships into there, and I salute you, because it's one of the more risky environments to take one out into, and you definitely need support if you do intend to. Yeah, those are the only things that are directly capable of moving between these constellations. And even then, of course, you do need a regular old Sino on the other side to jump to. Every other ship, every other sub-capital ship, is forced to we have to leave Cobalt Edge via the Null-sec wormholes, find our way to another wormhole that leads into the adjoining constellation that we want to go into. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, let's say somebody set up some structures in a neighbouring constellation and you want to go shoot at them. Or an enemy ship is tackled over there and you want to get a fleet over there as soon as possible to destroy a really expensive target. It's not really viable unless you've got a bunch of capital ships already within Cobalt Edge. Here, what you could do with Black Ops is you just need one ult, and of course alliances and corporations are big, and a lot of players have a lot of ults, so having one Black Ops capable ult in each of the constellations within an alliance, that's no difficult thing to pull off, really, in the grand scheme of things. So this Black Ops ship, it's flying around a Cobalt Edge constellation, and it sees a really juicy ship that you'd really love to get the kill of. Let's say there's a Science C in there, just ratting all on its own. The Black Ops ship has done the rounds, nobody else seems to be ratting at the moment. You think it's a nice juicy target. So it gets in position, say, I don't know, 100 kilometers away from the Black Ops, from the I'm getting my names mixed up now. Science C, there we go. So it decides to decloak 100 kilometers away from the Science C, light that Sino. Next thing you know, let's say a dozen Black Ops battleships appear right next to it, a dozen more cruisers with tracking disruptors, maybe some missile disruptors, whatever it takes. Some stealth bombers go in there as well, and a couple of haulers jump through and immediately cloak up in anticipation of some pretty good loot. You then just alpha that ship out of the sky, if alphaing a Science C is even possible, I don't know. Depends on how many battleships you bring along with you, I guess. Scoop it all up, and quite possibly be jumping back out to the previous location with another Black Ops Sino before anybody was able to respond, before anybody could warp in on that location with a suitable defense force. Cobalt Edge will be the true location to be able to pull off these Black Ops targeting fleets. I don't know what word I'm looking for there. This is the brilliance of doing a Ramble video. All I have is bullet points, and I don't always know how to move from one topic to another. So I think we've talked enough about Black Ops here with regards to Cobalt Edge. What about Null-sec, null security space? Because that is what applies to a much larger portion of our player base as opposed to Cobalt Edge, where I suspect the majority of us are going in with somewhat more disposable ships. So in Cobalt Edge, wow, I'm already going back there. So before I completely lose my voice, as this ramble tends to drag on a bit, let's talk about Null-sec and the implications it's going to have on our ability to be safe in a manner, safe in quotation marks, let's say, within Null-sec. So there is the possibility that Black Ops Sinos will be able to bypass the Sino jamming structures. It's also possible that this won't be the case, but let's be honest, if Black Ops Sinos do not bypass the Sino jamming structures that we already have in Null-sec, then Black Ops ships will be kind of useless, because I can't speak for the majority of Null-sec. All I can say is the alliance that I'm currently in now, every single system that has SOV has a Sino jamming structure, which would mean that not a single Black Ops fleet would be able to hot drop anybody anywhere in the entire region. It wouldn't make sense from the developer's point of view to introduce this exciting new format of gameplay if the majority of the map you couldn't actually use it. It'd be like using the Sun Chaser jump system all over again, where just nobody uses it because it's a gimmick that you can only use in very specific and rare circumstances. So I personally hope and believe that these Black Ops Sinos will bypass the regular Sino jamming structures, and that these regular Sino jamming structures will only be there to specifically stop capital ships jumping in. That is the direction I believe the game is going to go with this. So of course now you have to be, as I alluded to earlier, wary of ships that could be an entire dozen jumps away from you. All of a sudden, if a single player jumps into your system, you have to have in the back of your mind this nagging question. Is that a regular interceptor looking for easy minor kills, which you can easily dispatch of in your faction battleship? Or is it representing a 20 or 30 man Black Ops fleet that's currently a dozen jumps away and hasn't been reported yet because it's not in the heartland of your space? That is a genuine question. And of course, previously, all we've ever had to ask is there anybody in the systems nearby? Yes or no? Is it a big fleet? Yes or no? Have there been any log-off traps that we know of in the system I'm in the past 24 hours? Yes or no? Now those questions aren't enough, is it? The game gets more exciting. And this is the direction that we need to go in with Null-sec, because at the moment, everything is just too clear-cut, as it were. Too easy, too safe. The only way that, for example, myself in Null-sec can get, the only way I could lose a really expensive ship in Null-sec at the moment is if I get distracted and don't look at my phone screen for, say, 5 minutes or so. That'd be long enough for a neutral to come in, tackle me, get some friends to warp in and do a log-off trap or whatnot and come and gank me and destroy me. Yeah, that's what it would take for me to not look at my phone screen. But here, even looking at your phone screen, even looking at intel, even being as cautious and practical and by the book as possible, you can still get caught, and that makes the game more exciting. Well, anyway, I think this has been enough of a ramble for today's video. If there's anything you'd like to add about Black Ops ships that are incoming, feel free to mention it in the comment section below. And until the next video, fly dangerously in New Eden.